Good evening, my beauties and bees. And we are playing with the kitty today on Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and do we have a werewolf on our hands in the state of Texas, or is it something else? Let's find out today on Cryptic Corner, where we're going to investigate the death of Charles Whitley fairly recently, because some people think maybe this gentleman was mauled by a werewolf. Let's dive right in without further ado. All right, here we go. So, let me plug the channel first because I don't want to get a copyright strike from this person. I doubt they do that. This is a small channel too, like mine, so I imagine they have some courtesy about doing responses and stuff. I can only imagine. The Adventure Guide is where we're looking. Small channel and uh, real case: the Texas werewolf killing, Dogman, Bigfoot, Hellhound, polar bear. What did it? Polar bears in Texas. Let's talk about it though. Let's find out. You guys ready for this? I hope you guys are ready. Is it Ted Cruz? Ted Cruz is Eddie Munster, who was a werewolf. Oh my gosh, I think you just opened up a whole new conspiracy topic on this. So yeah, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what they say here. All right.
28-year-old Christopher Whiteley was reported missing Thursday afternoon.
28-year-old man died in an attack.
Found Christopher Whiteley's body in a wooded area.
His body was later found in a nearby wooded area.
A 28-year-old was found dead in Hood County from what appears to have been a mountain lion
Christopher Whiteley by a creek bed in Lipen.
That victim, 28-year-old Christopher Whiteley, he was found in a wooded area.
A warning for people in Lipen after a deadly mountain lion attack.
From what appears to have been a mountain lion attack.
It says several wildlife experts, including Texas Parks and Wildlife, came to the same conclusion that that victim was not killed by a mountain lion. Preliminary results from the Tarrant County Medical Examiner rule that that victim was attacked by a wild animal.
Right. So it was a big news story in that area of Texas, right? Covered by a lot of people. Now, Lipen, Texas. Yeah, maybe I should pull that up real quick. No, we're just now getting into this, but Lipen, Texas is like a little tiny town that is west, like directly west of Fort Worth. Yeah, let me just pull it over here so you guys can see where we're journeying today. Okay, so here's Fort Worth, Dallas Fort Worth area. It's huge. I've only ever been up in this area. I've never been to Fort Worth. I've only been to Dallas, the Dallas area. But Lipen is this little bitty dot on the map right here. Not much to it at all. It is easy to explore though. And here's our wooded areas here and here. So we will eventually drop down in there and have a look around. Ooh, Texas, aren't you beautiful? Look at that. Ooh, Texas. Right. Everybody has scrap yards in their yard. There's some wooded areas right here. But we're gonna get into this. Don't worry. It'll be fun. Of course, you get the werewolf.
On December
Wolfman.
2nd of 2020, 28-year-old Christopher Whiteley walked out the door of his home at around 9 a.m. to head off to work. He was in the custom of giving his girlfriend a goodbye kiss every morning before leaving, but not this time. The couple were still fuming over a heated debate they had from the night before. It seems that not long after Christopher left the house, he encountered something that made him flee. To flee away from both his home and away from the road that he was headed to. He ended.
Okay, so we do have some roads and stuff here that we're going to be able to sort of pin down our locations a little bit better with, so that's good. I love doing these live with you guys. This is the first time there's been an actual murder, though. So we're looking Howell Road in Lipen, Texas. Howell Road, Lipen, Texas. Okay. Got it. Not a lot of yeah, it runs quite a distance though. Alright, we'll continue.
Ended up southwest of the house instead of running back into the house. He set his backpack on the ground, which indicates he was trying to calm someone or something down, but it didn't work. Something with thin claws grabbed hold of him and tried to brace him while it began to rip into his throat with its teeth. The scratches were not from branches, not wide enough to be human fingernails, nor were they lacerations from a mountain lion. The bite marks were...
So we've ruled out a lot of stuff here without giving it its due. But werewolves are quite the leap.
massive, and they rule out almost any known animal in the U.S. This is one of the wildest cases of a death where those who point to a werewolf actually have the strongest argument by the facts in the case. I am in no way saying...
There are no facts about werewolves because werewolves are not real, my dude. There are not werewolf facts. Where you can make up whatever you want about werewolves. Did you know they pee purple? Like when they urinate, it's purple? And I'm not making that up. That's real werewolf lore, right? That's not something I'm pulling out of my pista here. So you can make up whatever you want about a werewolf, and it becomes true. It becomes folklore. You can insert any kind of folklore you want. The silver bullet thing didn't come into play until the Wolfman. Before that, the only time a silver bullet was used, and it wasn't even on what you really call a werewolf, was the Beast of Javudon, which was not ever once claimed. Well, maybe people in fiction have claimed it was a werewolf, but like in actual reports from the time where they were dealing with the animal, nobody was implying that it was a werewolf. It was an animal that they killed with a silver bullet, or allegedly killed with a silver bullet. That's maybe where they got the idea from in the Wolfman. However, it's just you just add into the folklore. It's not like a natural occurrence.
I believe it was a werewolf, but I will do my best to present their argument as fair and open-minded as I can. Now, before we begin the account of what happened, let's run through a quick scenario. You are a limber 28-year-old male. Let's say you are walking up a creek bed when you see a vicious dinosaur the size of a dog headed your way. There are small trees and medium trees that you can easily jump into to get up and away from a dog-sized...
Oh, baby, you don't know much about dromaeosaurs if you think you're climbing a tree to get away from them. A dog-sized dromaeosaur is going to be right up that tree after you, probably a bit faster than you. No, dinosaurs are dromaeosaurs specifically are thought to have been quite arboreal, very mobile appendages and stuff. So yeah, they're good at climbing. The wings would make them even better at climbing because they wouldn't look like this. They'd help them kind of float and glide, I guess.
Dinosaur. And there is thickets that you can get down on your hands and knees and crawl under. Which would you naturally do to get away from a dog-sized dinosaur? Would you go up a tree? Or would you get down on your hands and knees on its level? Okay, now what if the dinosaur was slightly or fairly taller than you? Would you go up a short tree? Or this time would you get down on your hands and knees and crawl under a thicket? Now remember your answer and the scenario because you will be using it soon to weigh the evidence.
Okay. Goodness gracious. So, there's a lot to unpack there. Crawling under the thickets. I kind of get the impression that our guy is trying to lead you to a certain conclusion here. And all the culprits that we're going to talk about, the mountain lion, the dogs, the bears, all of that stuff, the werewolf, uh, in those scenarios, we will unroll the dinosaur narrative that you laid out here. So don't you worry.
By the way, if you're new to this channel, this is the Adventure Guide, and I welcome all of you.
Oh, I'm having fun with the
Our
Adventure
victim
Guide.
in this account was
subscribing.
Christopher Allen Whiteley, who was born September 11th of 1992. He had a bad temper and went down the wrong path, becoming addicted to methamphetamine. Christopher and his girlfriend...
That is fucking rough. Meth is no joke in the Midwest, from Texas to freaking Minnesota. It's a struggle that the underclass has ongoing to self-medicate for the freaking society that we live in. So it's a sad state of affairs, but it's relevant here too, unfortunately. So we know a lot about how people act and react on methamphetamine. Some of the bizarre behaviors people engage in when under the influence of that particular drug. Yeah, I don't think there's a right path for meth at all. And unfortunately, it's like a plague. It's not as bad as it used to be. About in the late 90s and early 2000s in Missouri, where I grew up, it was horrendous. Like, everybody was like making meth and getting busted for making meth. It was insane. Like, all the people I went to school with and people that people in my family, people I'm related to.
Samantha Tyler Messina, who goes by Tyler, had 2 children together, but they were taken away because of abuse and their drug habit. Christopher was reported to have beaten Tyler with a pipe once in 2015, and then later he attacked Tyler with a shank.
Oh, damn. Yeah, this guy's a real winner. You know, attacking your girl with a shank. Oh.
He was arrested and confessed to the attack and a number of other cases of abuse on Tyler. He fully admitted to it, and it appears he did so in hopes to get help and change.
Well, you know, that he owns up to it. That's good. No, that's great. Uh, Something like that you're trying to become a better person in regards to, I can get on board with that. However, I don't know that you can ever, so he's still with this woman, right? He beat her with a pipe, tried to stab her, or did stab her. I don't know if there's any redemption for that for me from a partner. I would not continue a relationship with someone who beat me with a pipe and stabbed me. Never. It's just not in my nature. I can't deal with that kind of. I've had so many intense people in my life that I just don't. I don't think I could deal with somebody who was explosive like that again. Yeah.
It seems like he was burning out on his behavior. He confessed to tying Tyler up and not allowing her to have food or water for days. All of this was too much for law enforcement to allow Christopher to just get help and return to society. So he was charged and found guilty of second-degree felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. When he got out of prison on June 3rd of 2020, he didn't know how to drive and had to leave extra early every morning to hitchhike to work, but he did so faithfully. He knew one person that would stop and pick him up every morning if he was out on the road when this guy drove by. The driveway where Christopher lived was so long and ran along the road for about 1/10 of a mile, but Christopher had a shortcut to help assure he would be out on the street in plenty of time to get a ride. Christopher was both working in the oil fields and painting houses.
Did it edit out Tsunami's comment? Can we show that? 'Cause I'm not down with that. Because I don't see the first part on my Streamlabs, so I don't know. That's weird. Yeah, fuck him. You take accountability. You don't get. Accountability is not a reset button, right? Sure, you can build things back up and build yourself back up and build your relationships back up, but it's not a reset button. And you don't. And nobody that you've tried to murder owes you anything. But he's living with this woman, and he said he kissed her goodbye every morning. And now he's hitchhiking to work.
And putting away his money. He saved up enough to buy a Chevy Blazer and fix it up. His mother, Kimberly Spurl, had scheduled time to help Christopher learn to drive. He was just weeks away from never having to hitchhike again, but until then, he had to perform.
Can you still hitchhike in Texas, John? You can't hitchhike any of the states that I've been in up here in the Midwest. You get busted real quick trying to catch a ride. The police will pick you up within 20 minutes of it being reported that you're out there with your thumb out. They will come and grab you. Can you do that in Texas? Maybe you can. I don't know, Texas, but this is 2020, so it's like fairly recently too. So
perform this morning ritual of cutting over to the road and getting picked up. On December 2nd of 2020, as we stated earlier, around 9 a.m., he began heading out to the road.
All right, so 9 a.m. starting our day. All right, so what was bath salts? I'm missing some context here about the people eating someone else's face and all that. But I lived in a trailer park in Missouri for a couple of years when I was in my early 20s, and I can confirm that meth heads do go on like rampages and have to get like talked down from the cops from doing crazy shit. They're like out of their mind. So I've experienced that firsthand. And I've seen the guy holding his child inside his like shed outside his trailer with the cops spotlighting all their guns on him. Got a freaking knife and screaming, and yeah, it's insane what these drugs can do to people, what they can do to a mind. Let's see what else we got. Dudes in Toronto make portable meth labs in 2-liter pop bottles. They can be highly explosive and could injured by collectors. Yeah, so by bottle collectors. Yes, they used to do those, and they'd stash them up underneath like bridges and stuff here. So like when the people would come through doing the highway cleanups, the volunteers or whatever, the Stop the Highway people, they keep finding them, and they've had some of them I think exploded and stuff. You know. 44 states do not have laws against hitchhiking. "44 states do not have laws against hitchhiking. Only New York, Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Wyoming." Really? I was always like told that no, you can't hitchhike in Illinois and Missouri because the cops will pick you up. I've seen cops picking up hitchhikers, but I don't know if they were giving him a ride, though. I've hitched around Western Europe. Glad I did. Another reason never to go to the Midwestern United States. Um, no escape by thumb. Ah, it's illegal to be on a roadway in Texas, but not hitchhiking. Probably won't stop cops from harassing you, though. Texas cops are the worst at respecting constitutional rights. Interstates are the exception. The feds control those. The folks are not allowed to hitchhike on the interstate. You can hitchhike in Texas as long as you're not pregnant and seeking health care. I am a believer in the paranormal and supernatural. That's cool, Eddie. We welcome all kinds of people here. So you can. This idea is that this is going to be a werewolf. So we're going to find out. Uh, my ex was misdiagnosed as having ADHD when he was young, self-medicated with amphetamines, and when he got closer to 30, got a proper diagnosis of schizophrenia, but by then he was addicted to it. Yeah, that sucks. Turned into a whole vicious cycle, and there's no breaking free from it. Some of that stuff you can't just wean yourself off of. It's
Catch a ride. He grabbed his blue and white backpack and he went out the door. He normally trudged up the driveway heading north and cut across the wooded section at the bend of the driveway to save time. But Christopher never came home that day. He refused to answer any of Tyler's calls or return texts. Still, it was unlike him not to return home. The next day, Christopher's friend filed a missing persons report, and Hood County sheriffs began their investigation that evening. They would have to figure out who picked up Christopher that morning and what they did with him. Tyler told the sheriffs that Christopher had been complaining of chest pains for the last few weeks. So the sheriffs began their investigation by walking the driveway, but offered little to no clues. Then one officer had the sense to search the creek bed. As he followed the creek bed south, he spied the blue and white backpack sitting against a cedar tree. But south of the home, going the wrong direction. Christopher should have been going north towards Howell Road. Sheriffs began to swarm around the backpack, but the trail of clues went cold. That was until one sheriff caught a glimpse of something in the dense thicket. It was only 15 feet away, but near impossible to see. The sheriff got on his hands and knees and looked under the thicket. Deep within was the body of Christopher. According to the sheriffs, the brush was so thick, it was a miracle they ever found him. It turned out to be a horrifying and grisly sight to behold. The county sheriffs had seen a number of murders, car accidents, and other deaths, but none of them could hold a candle to what they were looking at.
Yeah, and we're gonna again focus on the injuries of the victim here. It's the throat injuries, some scratches on the chest. He was shirtless. His pants were half torn off. And yeah, so that's what we're going with right now. I have my own theories on this, which I will elucidate on in a bit.
Christopher's neck had been torn out from one ear to the other. Blood patterns on his clothing and on the ground document he was standing on his feet when his neck was torn apart. According to Lieutenant Johnny Rose of Hood County, quote, "The blood evidence showed that he was attacked while he was standing up. It wasn't something where he was lying down, passed out, or asleep or whatever. He was standing when he was attacked. Those injuries are consistent with an animal ripping out someone's throat." End quote. The blood pattern leaving his body, the puncture marks and lacerations, the damage to his neck.
Okay, and I'm not freaking Dexter here with the blood splatter analysis and stuff, but I do know animals, and you guys know that. So that's what I'm going to focus on here is my animal knowledge, not my forensic knowledge. I have my own ideas about what happened to this guy, so we'll get to that.
All ruled out a weapon. According to the Tarrant County Medical Examiner, Susan J. Rowe, whatever created the damage to Christopher's neck consisted of, quote, punctures and lacerations. She also stated it was a match for an attack by an animal, not a weapon. That is now both the county sheriff's and the medical examiner saying it was not a weapon, but an animal.
I don't disagree that the injuries could have been inflicted by an animal. I agree that the injuries were likely inflicted by an animal. Coyotes are more likely to attack than a cougar, especially in Texas, where cougars are exceedingly rare. There's never been a recorded account of a cougar attack in Texas that I'm aware of. California's got quite a few, but the idea of this guy, the condition he was found in, and things, I got thoughts on it. So we're gonna dig into that.
She also stated in her opinion it appeared to be consistent with a mountain lion. To top it off, Christopher had thin, narrow scratches on his arms, back, chest, forehead, and down the left side of his face. They were, quote, superficial scratches, and not wide like human nails, but thin and also not deep like a lion, which would leave a laceration. It was more like a clawed hand or paw was trying to hold him still while driving its jaws in for the attack.
I like how they used the picture of the werewolf there. Did you see that? I know it flashed through it quick, but it's subliminal. Watch.
While driving its jaws in
there you go.
Attack. Another outlandish fact was that Christopher had no shirt on. Look at the date, December 2nd, and it was around 9 a.m. According to records, it was 44 degrees outside. Christopher's jeans were bloody from the knees up.
Yeah, but he's a Texan too, so I mean, 44 degrees doesn't require a shirt in Texas. No, coyotes are scared a injured or sick mountain lion will fuck with you. Depends on who you are, though. Coyotes will try to, like, there's some that, like, in areas that lose their fear of humans, like in reserves and stuff, and they are more likely to inflict injuries on people than mountain lions. Mountain lions, even in those conditions, never lose that fear of humans. Like coyotes and bears, it's something with caniforms, the way their brains function. This raider brain that they get habituated to human company, and then that's why. Oh, people wear coats. I don't know. My ex and her mother were from Dallas, and they never wore coats. They wore shorts and t-shirts all year long. Even up here in the upper Midwestern winters, they would never wear coats. They would never wear. The most they would wear was like hoodies and stuff. It was kind of weird. Anyway.
Up and they were torn. The fly was open and the shorts, not sure if they meant boxer shorts or not, but they were pulled out of the area. And according to one investigator, Toby Fries, it was like, quote, as if an animal was pulling at them or dragging him. Believe it or not, one bizarre...
And that is important to know. Yeah.
Bizarre indicator of dog attacks is a nude body.
Right, because dogs are pursuit predators, right? They're not ambush predators. They are built to drag you down. That's what their hunting technique is. They will grab a hold of your extremities. In the wild, they grab. Usually, there's when a pack of canids are attacking, right? They will have individuals that hang on to the hindquarters and try to drag the because most mammals their back legs are their power, right? So they try to drag them down by that, their buttocks and their hind legs, and they will persistently try to do that. When you're wearing clothes, they're pulling your pants off. That's what they do. They'll also try to grab your arms and your shoulders to pull you down to the ground. I'm sure you've all seen the training videos of the dogs trained to take down criminals and stuff. They do flying arm grabs and things like that. These are all characteristics built into them instinctually to take down largely ungulate prey like deer and cattle. And while the part of the pack will focus on dragging down the back end, generally there's specific members of the pack that are designated to go up and go for the throat bite or the muzzle bite, which is generally on the throat, on the face, on the head. They will when they're doing this to a human, stand up on their chest with their paws on their chest and bite. But I digress. I'm still thinking bear, possibly a black bear, possibly an immature and somewhat lost grizzly. Okay.
As strange as it may sound, it is not uncommon in dog-inflicted deaths. The missing shirt and yanked out shorts are heavy indicators of a dog attack. County sheriffs also called in the great expertise of the Texas Rangers. The Rangers, with their vast experience, viewed the area. Their findings were that it was an animal. They did their own independent study and came with their own conclusion. So now that is all the Hood County sheriffs, plus the Tarrant County medical examiner, and the Texas Rangers that are certain it was not done by a weapon and that it was a mountain lion attack. U.S. federal wildlife expert Mike Bodenchuk expected to crack the case quickly as Christopher was laying in a sandy area. All Bodenchuk had to do was find one of the several tracks that was made by the killer. However, the most incredible thing happened. There were no tracks of any kind except for Christopher's.
Which is super bizarre, which is the weirdest thing about this whole case, is that their area was able to take his tracks, but not any of the attackers' tracks. That's suspicious. That's weird. But obviously these wounds are not consistent with a bird of prey. Generally, they don't go for a throat kill, and it would be way too big for them to target. So I'm not sure what to make of the no tracks thing, other than that the organism that attacked him might have been up in a tree, which would be a mountain lion. They attack from trees, but
so at this very moment, it should be assumed this was a self-inflicted death, but the blood patterns had already shown there was a killer. However, the only tracks at the scene were Christopher's. The killer left no tracks. There were no tracks of mountain lions, dogs, people, nothing.
So
there were plenty
weird.
Of animal tracks 150 yards away from Christopher's body, but that's 1.5 football fields away. Among these tracks there were deer, hogs, coyotes, dogs, and even human tracks. There was also another set.
I like how their human is like a scrawny biker meth head looking dude with a bottle of like Mad Dog 2020 or something. Like Texas. Oh.
The tracks 80 yards away from Christopher's body that belonged to a human, but once again they didn't come up to the body and there was no way to tie them to Christopher's death. But due to the spacing between bites and the pattern of the bites, Bodenchuk suspected our killer was actually a dog. Bodenchuk's theory gained steam when 2 canine hairs were found on Christopher's body.
Okay, yeah, canine hairs are found on the location. So, we got an individual found with his pants torn down, like something was dragging him down by his pants. Wounds of scratching claws, not lacerating claws like a cat, but scratching claws like a bear or a dog. And its throat bitten. Okay. And then we have dog hairs. We have canine hairs.
Body, Lab results came back positive that they were in fact canine hairs. He 100% had contact with the dog while wearing those jeans. And here's the thing, there are no dogs where Christopher lived. He did have friends that had...
There are no dogs that live like domestically, but there are, wild dogs and packs of wild dogs that do strut about in the countryside looking for vulnerable prey to eat. Are you sure it's sheep squatch wool there, John?
Had two small dogs, but these friends lived a long distance away and it had been a long time since his last visit. Therefore, it kind of ruled them out as a possibility.
Were they Chihuahuas?
Strangely, for some reason, there was no attempt made to determine what type of canine these hairs belonged to, especially since the chief suspect is now a canine. Jonah Evans, a tracker from the Texas Parks and Wildlife, was also called out. Evans already knew it was not a mountain lion by the photos. He wrote in his journal that he found it alarming they had ruled out homicide so quickly. Evans is actually an internationally known tracker, one of the best. Evans stated, quote,
And I also do not think it was a mountain lion, just to throw that out there right now. There is some compelling facts about the case that make me think that it could have been a mountain lion, like the no tracks thing, if it was ambushed from a tree or something. But there was some pursuit here, in my opinion, based on the location of the body and the bag, that there was some pursuit that chased him off his trail, and that's going to lead to my conclusion.
Really concerned about the possibility that a murderer is out there right now and has gotten away with this crime. Texas Parks and Wildlife made it clear that no native wild animals fit the bill for the killing. The killer was either a domesticated animal, zoo animal, or it was a human. A few things should be noted.
Or a werewolf. Come on now, a werewolf.
Mountain lions eat intestines, stomachs, liver, etc. first. I know this from numerous posts by freaked out ranchers that think a cryptid or something had killed livestock, but it always turned out to be a mountain lion.
So, and that's true, that mountain lions will go for the soft underbellies where they start to feed at, but this is not, there's no feeding wounds as far as we can see on this gentleman, right? It didn't start to feed on him, whatever it was that attacked him. But it may have cashed him, which is very cat-like behavior. So,
mountain lions do go for the neck, but they don't go for the throat.
False, absolute BS. No. Okay, so finally get into some of this stuff. They go for the. What was this the right one? Let's quote my citations here. Cases of attack by large wild cats, tigers, leopards, pumas, and lions on humans are reported relatively rarely in medical literature, including. I had a citation here that I was going to, because they don't necessarily go. Obviously, an ambush predator is going to more often than not get you from behind and get the back of your neck, but they'll just as easily and just as often get the throat. They go for the throat. They have just the same instinct to crush your trachea as all the big cats do. So, not a problem to wrap their jaws right around your throat and just give it a nice crush and finish you off in just a matter of moments because you can't breathe, and even the structures of your body that allow you to take air in are being destroyed by this animal's teeth. Yeah, victims most commonly sustain injuries to the head, neck, and chest. So the claims that he just made there about them always attacking from behind is false. Head, neck, and chest chest is right here, right? It's not from behind. So this is injuries in the United States from pumas. This is actual Science Direct, a legitimate resource explaining to us how cougar attacks happen and where they happen and what percentage of the population. This has a lot of good details about all of this stuff. 10 states reported 74 cougar attacks from 1924 to 2018. Persons less than 18 years of age were heavily represented among the victims. 48% were over 18 years old. Is that under 18? No, it's over. It's greater than. And 35% were less than 10. Attacks were more common in the summer and fall. 16 victims were hospitalized after being attacked. Among the 35 victims within the data available, 11 attacks were fatal among 71 reported. With this information, none of the hospitalized victims died. No victim variables were predictive of death. So there's some details for you about cougar attacks and how versatile they are in the way that they take down humans.
Mountain lions attack from behind unless defending their young, and this is a possibility because they can give birth all the way into October, making it possible for the mountain lion to have had cubs. However, when defending their young, they use their claws to inflict deep lacerations. Mountain lions generally suffocate their victim from the back of the neck, or they damage the spinal cord.
That's true, but you can't suffocate somebody from the back of the neck. They damage the spinal cord from the back of the neck. You suffocate from the front of the neck. Come on now. You can't suffocate somebody from behind. I mean, you can't if you're around them, but you're still doing it from the front. Oh, goodness.
Need to focus on the suffocating part because Christopher was killed by bleeding to death. If Christopher had been killed by a mountain lion, you would have seen what looked more like vampire bites on the side of his neck with very little blood loss.
Unless if it's dragging him by his throat under some bushes, that might be make the wounds a little bit messier. But no, cougar bites do not look like vampire bites. I will confirm that. This is not a good representation of a cougar bite. And there also is a lot of implications here that they're saying that cougars have a larger mouth, larger bite than dogs. That's just not true. There's many breeds of dogs that have exceptionally larger bites than cougars. Cougars of the large cats have the smallest mouths, the smallest heads and smallest mouths for their body size. So no, they don't. They're slightly smaller than leopards, but they're by no means even vampire bites. I don't know how they ruled out vampires. I guess this is a good way to rule out vampires, but it's not a good way to rule out mountain lions.
There also would have been deep lacerations from the claws digging into his back, none of which happened. When mountain lions attack, there's always a violent struggle that ensues.
Stop with the always about mountain lion attacks. No, there's not. They're ambush predators. Their optimal attack is to jump on your back, crush your spine, and be done before your body hits the ground. You're dead. That's the goal. So there's not always. Does this always work? No. Is there a violent struggle sometimes? Absolutely. But the goal is to take you down in one move of any ambush predator. That's what they want. They get you by the throat. They even want to pull you right down without much struggle. They want to, when they get you by the throat, when a mountain lion gets you by the throat, it's likely to hug you, right? Whereas marks on the chest, we'll get back to that in a second. The mountain lion's likely to hug you when it's sinking its teeth into your throat. So its arms are around you to hold you in place. So there's not a lot of, there could, depending on how much of a fight you're able to put up, there could be some thrashing. And if they ambush you and you're not ready for it, something suddenly on your throat pinning you to the ground, sinking claws into your back, you're not going to have a lot of time to react. So yes, there can be a violent struggle, but definitely not an always statement. Always is ridiculous.
The ground is torn up,
Oh.
branches are broken and such, but there was no sign of a struggle here. Game warden Britton Stuckey noted,
You know, mountain lions always attack things and eat. Every time there's broken branches and all this, it's goodness. No, they're ambush predators. They're good at what they do.
mountain lions take their paws and make scrapes or little piles, and then they foul them with urine. They always do this near their kills to scare off other predators from.
Again, with the always statements, no, that's not an always statement. They can mark their prey, or they can stash it and hide it where there's no, and try to make no sense and leave no scent trace at all to try to keep it away from scavengers.
Taking their meal. They also stash their kills for later. There was no such little mounds, and Christopher had crawled into the place to get away from something. It was not stashed there. Then to top it all off,
That's fair.
one of the only people to have ever inspected a human death by a mountain lion, Jim Bott from New Mexico, looked over the evidence and told the Tarrant County Medical Examiner Rowe that this was not from a mountain lion. During that day, Christopher's
This was no boating accident.
mother Kim had kept texting her son and not getting a response. She eventually messaged Tyler on Facebook and asked if Christopher was alright. Tyler replied, "Yeah, we're napping." Christopher was already killed by the time she made that reply. For some reason, this message did not warrant any.
That is sus, right? Lying to your mother, or lying to his mother about his location. Did Tyler stash him out there?
Any consideration of suspicion. One reason being there were no other human tracks found in the wash from the road to where Christopher was attacked. Also probably because all evidence and indicators were leading to a dog. But was it still a homicide? Was the dog sicked on Christopher by someone? Did someone hold up a large dog in the air so it could attack Christopher's throat while he was standing? Now that a canine was the chief suspect, the dog and animal inflicted death expert, Kendall Crowns, a deputy chief medical examiner in Travis County, where the city of Austin resides, was called in. Now we can find out what killed Christopher right off the bat.
Why do they keep putting a bobcat up there? There's no way a bobcat did that. No way. A bear, though.
Crown notes that the fatal neck injury is almost certainly a bite wound. This is where it gets creepy, though, because Crowns, who is one of the top experts in the world on dog-related deaths, stated that it was, quote, something bigger than a dog, so that would rule out coyotes quite quickly and domestic dogs. It was bigger than a dog, so big and so large that Crowns could not identify it. The suspect is now back to the mountain lion.
So, again, mountain lions have a smaller bite than large breeds of dogs. Than like a mollusser, anything big like that, mountain lion has a much smaller bite. And smaller bite force, too, for that matter, than a large mollusser dog or a bully breed. All those dogs have exceptionally large heads, while mountain lions have exceedingly small heads, again, for their body size.
Now, this isn't the only reason that suspicion is shifting back to a mountain lion. The other reason is that all dog experts are pointing out to the fact there are no takedown marks. When canines attack something larger than them, especially something bipedal, they attack the arms and the legs, and they do what's called takedown. They will maul the limbs until...
If they're getting the clothes, they don't always get a person by the skin. They can grab a hold of your pants or your shirt, too.
The victim drops to the ground, and then they will immediately go for the throat. As all these canine experts are pointing out, the ripping out of the throat before the takedown is extremely irregular and highly unlikely of any canine. They rule out canines. Now back to Tarrant County Medical Examiner Susan Rowe. She has to fill out a death certificate. As she was getting ready to make her final decision and put that the cause of death was by mountain lion, Bodenchuk showed up with 2 mountain lion skulls. He shows that the bite marks are way too big to be a mountain lion, and he firmly establishes that. Fingernail clippings were removed from Christopher and the DNA checked. All we're told is that it came back negative for mountain lion's DNA. Now we can 100% rule out mountain lions once and for all. So what else did the DNA reveal? Well, we don't know because the fingernails were destroyed. We will never know what the DNA was on those fingernails. The good news was,
this case was very poorly handled. I don't know if it's because, this guy's a 3-time loser for being to prison for all this stuff, that they're like, we're just not going to worry about. Hey, there's other people that live here.
Christopher's body still had the bite marks, the scratches, and other places to extract DNA, especially since mountain lions, dogs, and humans have basically been ruled out. The culprit now has
Wait, how do we rule out? So one guy said it couldn't have been a dog; it had to be something bigger. But you also implied that he said that maybe a mountain lion, which makes me think he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So I'm gonna not trust him, because I know that I can bring up dimensions on their skulls if you need. I can bring up the measurements, the minute measurements of a large dog breed skull compared to a mountain lion skull, so you could understand that yes, if it's too big to be a dog, it's too big to be a mountain lion. But I don't think the guy saying this either way knew what he was talking about. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but he'd have to explain to me how he came to the conclusion that the bite marks went from a mountain lion bigger. I need to see some kind of evidence for that. And I didn't find anything investigating this. So,
according to Tarrant County Medical Examiner, no such request was made to research the DNA and find the actual killer. Therefore, for some reason, she washed the entire body down with the bleach solution. She claimed she did this because of COVID-19. However, when journalists reached out to medical examiners across the country, they found that none of them were engaging in this behavior. They all simply washed the bodies with soap and water. This was really weird. Just when all hope seemed...
The forensic person washed the body down with bleach. That is weird. Come on, that's weird. There's a lot of things going on in this little town that I'm interested in finding out more about. Wash the body down with bleach? No, not examining the canine hairs. What's going on here? This is a very serious matter for people who live in this area and have kids and stuff that might go out in those woods to find out what's out there that attacked this guy.
Lost. Mike Bodenchuk demanded that pants and boots be sent for saliva testing, and not to the state but to the federal government. After all, there was something weird about the gene tears that didn't fit a human killer. The brilliant move was finally to reveal what weird thing had killed Whiteley. To assure that neither the county nor the state destroyed the DNA, the articles were sent to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Wildlife Research Lab. As everyone patiently waited for the results, shocking news came. They found mold growing in the pockets of the genes. This meant that the genes were neither frozen at the county or federal level to preserve the saliva samples. The U.S. Department of Agriculture blamed Hood County and said, quote, "We cannot make a conclusion about the wildlife species involvement."
Ooh, those were some big sneezes.
And
and there wasn't room on the poll for bear. Maybe bear would have won. And a lot of you guys might be leaning towards bear. I wish I could have put that on the list. I didn't have room to separate werewolf and sheep squatch. There's just too many options in this case. Whew. That sneeze woke me up.
Of course, those who subscribe to this being a killing by a werewolf say that the DNA was destroyed to cover up what they found. So why didn't they report what the DNA was that they found on the fingernails, and who ordered the destruction of the fingernails and the bleaching of the body?
The werewolf did, because it's the were-cop or wolf cop. That's a movie, right? Wolf Cop. Where I remember seeing that.
Let's revisit the backpack and shirt. Reports say that the backpack was set on the ground by a cedar tree, Now, if a wild animal was charging you, you would drop it or use it as a shield. You wouldn't take the time to set it down. If someone was approaching you in an angry manner without a weapon in their hand, you would probably set it down and try to reason with them or get ready to fight.
So, I don't think at the time he set his backpack down, it does seem like it was set very calmly against the tree. I'm not 100% convinced that he was actually headed to work. I'm sort of suspicious that he was circling back to his house, like trying to spy on his old lady, maybe. Said they were fighting. He's like, I'm going to work and then going to peek into the window to see what she's doing or try to catch her doing something. I don't know. I'm making up conspiracies at this point, but the nature of the backpack being set down the way it was makes me seem like he was trying to convince her that he was going to work, and he had all his effects to go to work. But once he got out of sight, he circled back, set his work bag down, as to not be burdened with whatever task he was about to undertake. At which point he ran into his attacker. He was taken down. He was pursued away from his bag. He was whatever was pursuing him tried to pull him down by his pants. May have ripped his shirt off. Tried to pull him down, and then he was struggling to get away from it and crawled under the bushes, but not before it got in there to. Well, maybe that happened under the bushes. I don't know if the neck wound was inflicted in that position or not. I'm not a blood splatter analysis. I'm not Dexter here. Just doing my 2 cents on what seems to be going on here, or why I think it's things fell out the way they did. So, animal attacks are always fun to explore because most people seem like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's like when Tiger King was a thing, and we were like, she's like, oh, you can't convince a tiger to eat a person. You'd have to dip him in tuna or something. Like, what are you talking about, lady? No, a tiger will absolutely eat a person. We are like on their menu.
In fact, that would explain the missing shirt, as many people take their shirt off to fight. On January 25th, with nothing else to go on, Justice of the Peace Kathy Gwynn certified Whiteley's death certificate. And it reads, quote, accident attacked by an animal of some sort. Bodenchuk said, quote, I think the fact that it's an unknown animal still leaves some questions, In fact, all the investigators, wildlife experts, and medical examiners that viewed the case say it was death from being torn apart by teeth, being bitten, except one person, Jonah Evans. No matter if it was a human, mountain lion, dog, or a cryptid like a dogman, whatever your belief is, that killer is still on the loose. The killer is still out there. What some are saying is that this is a clear werewolf attack and that the behavior of law enforcement and the government supports this. So now let's look at their argument.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher left his home and went southwest, which means he was probably trying to retreat or get away from something.
Okay, so again, we're back to this map, but I like this map because it shows, he goes to work this way. So his bag was found here. So that makes me think that he walked out here, circled back, walked up the creek bed. His bag was found in this area here, about 150 yards south. I think it was directly south, so it might have been right here. So his body was found somewhere in this area, like right behind his house, really. So to get from here to here, yeah, the creek bed's a good route. Obviously he could have just walked straight back in front of his house, but you would think that she would have seen that. But again, they don't have dogs or anything that would have been barking at him coming back up the drive. So who knows?
Or just trying to hide from something between him and his home. Christopher set his backpack down, which is a passive action, and he did not put up a defense or struggle.
Yeah, if you see a werewolf coming at you, is that what you're going to do? Is put your hands up and try to reason with it? X to doubt. Do I have that one on here? I always say that. Yes, I do. Here we go.
And this is documented. It was like he knew the attacker was trying to reason with it. The blood patterns ultimately proved that Christopher was standing when attacked. This means the killer was either tall or jumped upwards. Christopher was attacked from the front, which is consistent with accounts of werewolf attacks in the past. Another match from accounts in the past over the centuries is the throat being ripped out. The bite marks were consistent.
Are you talking about where the accounts from the past werewolf attacks? Because there's not been any real accounts from the past of werewolf attacks. Because werewolves aren't real. Let me rewind that. Make sure I didn't hear his claim. Mishear his claim.
Over the century, werewolf attacks in the past. From the front, which is consistent with accounts of werewolf attacks in the past. This means the killer was either tall or jumped upwards. Christopher was attacked from the front, which is consistent with accounts of werewolf attacks in the past.
No, there's no accounts of werewolf attacks from the past.
Another match from accounts in the past over the centuries is the throat being.
There aren't any accounts from the past.
Ripped out. The bite marks were consistent with a canine, but way too big to be any canine that exists. However, this is a dead ringer for werewolf according to these people. Ultimately, the best argument is that it was a canine attack. However, the massive bite marks rule that out, as well as the fact there were no takedown marks. The genes were ripped by teeth, which would take a powerful animal.
So yeah, my question why a werewolf that is human height would lean down to bite his genes.
And once again, that could be a canine or a werewolf, but pretty much rules out a human. Something else tore his pants open and tried to drag him by his shorts. When the attack was over, Christopher did not try to crawl towards home or try to climb up a tree. We do know that Christopher was found in the thicket. It appears he dropped to the ground and crawled under it to get away from whatever was pursuing him. This is an indicator that he was attacked by something bipedal, like a human, a bear, or, as some are saying, a werewolf.
Yeah, you haven't talked much about the bear option here, but there are bears in this area. Not super common, but they're there. And black bears can definitely kill people. They've killed people in the past.
And why a werewolf rather than a dogman? Well, they think that the backpack being set on the ground was an indicator that he's trying to reason with it, and it's somebody that he knew. They also brought up the canine.
Reason with the werewolf. Is that something that if everything else that you built this argument on is based on folklore about werewolves, then the fact that you can't reason with a werewolf should be also on the list. A horny female werewolf? You think so, D?
And hairs that were found on Christopher's body, and stating that because the DNA was not researched, it was because they had ran across something that they were uncomfortable with. That's also why they destroyed the DNA on the body and destroyed the DNA on the genes, is because they had.
But there's a chain of custody on all this stuff, though. Somebody's accountable for everything along the way.
Found something that isn't supposed to exist. I don't feel like they have an airtight case on this, but I have to admit that they do have a lot of good points, and it's the only thing that fits the evidence that.
Is it though?
We have. I'm not going to mention the person's name because I'm 100% sure this person is not a werewolf, but they all suspect one person as being the werewolf. The pattern of retreat from the home and some Facebook postings where this person relates to a werewolf and says, "I wish I could stop it." They feel like this is compelling evidence, and it absolutely is not. So
I'm wondering if it's Tyler that he's talking about here. I'm not going to investigate that. I don't look into like doxing people.
So once again, this person's 100% innocent, and I'm going to protect their identity. So what do you guys think? Give me your opinion in the comments below. Do you think this was a dog? Do you think it was a mountain lion? Do you think it was like an escaped zoo animal? Do you think it was a human? Or do you believe it was possibly some sort of a cryptid? Whatever people's
They
opinions
didn't even
are,
mention
be respectful,
bears.
nobody laugh at anyone, and nobody attack anyone's opinions.
They didn't even mention bears. Why not a bear? All right, so that's the story. That's the lore around it. Do I think it was a werewolf? Hell no, I don't think it was a werewolf. What do I think it was? I think it was a pack of dogs. I think it was a pack of wild dogs. Maybe they didn't even kill him. Maybe they just mangled his corpse. But I think that they did take him down based on the evidence. He was taken down by a canine, or a pack of canines more specifically. I don't know for sure if a person was involved in that or not. A person with a pack of canines that directed them to attack him, sure, that's a possibility, but that'd be a really extravagant way to go about killing someone and very inefficient. Was it a wolf cop? It was a cop that found the body, so 98% of the time, whoever finds the body is the killer. That's why joggers are always so suspicious. Aw, bye, Jeannie. You have a good one. So, in my opinion, it was the second most likely suspect would be a bear to me, and then a mountain lion. The only part of the evidence that even remotely points to a mountain lion for me is the lack of tracks. Right? Everything else doesn't fit the MO of a mountain lion. The stuff that they said about a mountain lion attack, though, was completely false. A mountain lion can definitely go for your throat and rip it out. But you would expect to see grappling claw marks, which they imply was from instead on the chest, which is not werewolf-like either. Werewolf 2 would probably grapple as it bit your throat, because it has human arms. It would probably grapple. Something with cursorial paws, though, that don't have grabbing ability like cats and primates, like a canine or a bear, will put their paws on your chest while they bite your throat, though. Food for thought. What do you think, though? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for joining us tonight in Cryptic Corner, and please remember to be kind, take care, and we'll see you next time.
So the officer and I went out there to take a look at it. He just tried to chew in around the doors. And you could see a dog print, alongside the window there. And so it was, obviously a dog.
Summer morning in early June is when the legend began. At a nameless logging camp in Wexford County where the Manistee River ran. 11 lumberjacks near the Garland Swamp found an animal they thought was a dog. In a playful mood, they chased it around till it ran inside a hollow log. A logger named Johnson grabbed him a stick and poked around inside. Then the thing let out an unearthly scream and came out and stood upright. None of those men ever said very much about whatever happened then. They just packed up their belongings and left that night, were never heard from again. It was 10 years later in '97 when a farmer near Buckley was found. Slumped over his plow, his heart had stopped. There were dog tracks all around. 7 years past the turn of the century, they say a crazy old widow had a dream of dogs that circled her house at night. They walked like men and screamed. In 1917, a sheriff who was out walking found a driverless wagon and tracks in the dust like wolves had been stalking. Near the roadside, a 4-horse team lay dead with their eyes open wide. When the vet finished up his examination, he said it looked like they died of fright. In '37, a schooner captain said several crew members had reported a pack of wild dogs roaming Bowers Harbor. His story was never recorded. In '57, a man of the cloth found claw marks on an old church door. The newspaper said they'd been made by a dog. He'd have had to stood 7'4". In '67, a van load of hippies told a park ranger named Quinlan they'd been awakened in the night by a scratch at the window. There was a dog man looking in and grinning. In '77, there were screams in the night near the village of Bel Air. Could have been a bobcat, could have been the wind. Nobody looked up there. Then in the summer of '87, near Luther, it happened again. At a cabin in the woods, it looked like maybe someone had tried to break in. There were cuts around the doors that could only been made by very sharp teeth and claws. He didn't wear shoes because he didn't have feet. He walked on just 2 paws. So far this year, no stories have appeared. Have the dogmen gone away? Have they disappeared? Soon enough, I guess we'll know, because this is the time to fear. For another 10 years has come around. The 7th year is here. And somewhere in the Northwoods darkness, a creature walks upright. And the best advice you may ever get